Okay, fam, I wanted to stream today, but we have rolling internet dropouts right now. So I'm going to just record this as normal. And then I'm going to upload it probably with my Starlink or something so Jacob can post it and, put his magic, spread his magic all over it as you do. So what's the first thing I wanted to talk about? Well, something that just casually dropped over the weekend, which is a little insane. As far as I'm aware, I think this is the first official reveal of Unreal Engine 6, as far as I'm aware. It happened at the Rocket League, tournament, something or other, World Championship. I don't know. It's a thing. But they showed off a little sizzle reel of the next chapter, new engine, new tech, new era of Rocket League. And as you can see, they just do a couple little sizzle reels and then title screen. But then this is the big moment right here. The crowd goes wild. So Rocket League is huge, no doubt about that. It's massive. And they have a close collaboration, of course, close connection with Epic. And this looks to be like the first big showcase of Unreal Engine 6. Now, you'll notice a couple little teasers, and this is what I wanted to mention. Like this right here. If you look here, this looks like the game, whatever. But then you see this up here. verse:// because a lot of people are wondering what Unreal Engine 6 even is. Insert joke about they can't even get Unreal Engine 5 working right. There's the jokes write themselves. But what they're trying to do with Unreal Engine 6 is much weirder and also, to me, a little more dystopian than you may currently think. Because if you are thinking about this in terms of a game engine, you're thinking about it wrong. And I know that sounds insane because it's a game engine, but what they're trying to do with Unreal Engine more broadly and Unreal Engine 6 specifically is very different from what anybody else has done with any sort of game building tech or anything. It's much less, or it's supposed to be much less of a game engine and much more of a platform, multiverse, Fortnite ecosystem, whatever you want to call it. That's what they're trying to do. Now, why, how do we know any of this? Well, it's because there's actually been a number of interviews, a couple of little snippets here and there where we can actually get a better idea of what they're trying to do. Tim Sweeney, the CEO and head of Epic Games, he actually went on the Lex Fridman podcast last year, or technically it was April of 2025. And in this interview, he talked a bunch about all sorts of stuff, Unreal Engine 5 and what they're doing there to fix performance issues. Yeah, Lumen, movies, simulating reality, Fortnite in general, scaling to make what you build for one platform work on every platform. But he also talked about the goals of Unreal Engine 6. And I want to show you a little snippet of it because you'll notice that it's much less about cranking graphical fidelity or building bigger worlds or optimizing, God forbid, they talk about optimization. It's not about that. What you will hear him talk about almost entirely is creating an engine or a platform that is ubiquitous, that spreads over everything. Because I think Tim Sweeney's ultimate vision is that if you build The Witcher 4 or Witcher 5 in Unreal Engine 6, that can be played through Fortnite as a launcher. It can be played through Steam as well as a standalone thing. But all of the tools used to build Witcher 4 or Witcher 5 should be able to be brought over and used to build experiences, quote unquote, within Fortnite as well. And if that sounds crazy, bear with me. I'll let him explain it. I'm just going to tell you to brace. Tim is not, as is true for a lot of hardware guys. I love hardware guys. I love engineers. I love programmers. They tend to be a little bit of a stage presence vacuum. So like a black hole. So you'll hear him talking. It might be kind of tough because he's very monotone. Bear with me. I'll try to break it up and make it a little more digestible. But yeah, just bear with me. Both of these guys kind of talk in a monotone fashion. So just bear with me. We'll break it down.
Things with Verse, and I guess what you're outlining is if, and hopefully it is successful, this would be a big part of Unreal Engine 6. So what's the timeline? Where do we stand today?
Bear in mind, this was April of 2025. So they're talking about timelines for Unreal Engine 6. What are you expecting? And in the broader context of this whole conversation, bear in mind, this is 3.5 hours into their conversation. They've been talking about concurrent development. They've been talking about scalability, as I mentioned previously. They've been talking about trying to make creating games more accessible for people, so you don't have to have a super high level of understanding of programming. You can just kind of eventually build things. In Unreal Engine, it's called Blueprints, is how they do stuff, where you can kind of it's almost like a node-based programming system as opposed to just writing out raw code. So they've been talking about all that stuff, and now he's going to discuss Unreal Engine 6 specifically.
Well, there's a lot going on in parallel. The key thing with Verse is that we have been specifying what we think is the ultimate version of the language with all of the features we want, whereas we've been shipping more modest versions of the language over time. And we've released dozens of updates to it over the past year and a half.
To be clear, Verse is their like metaverse platform. Okay, that's why it said Verse : / Rocket League. That's kind of where they see this going, is one gigantic platform, and he'll talk more about that in a second.
And the idea is that the shipping version it gains more and more features over time, but each maintaining backwards compatibility with old versions, and each continuing to improve and approach the ultimate version of it as we go. And we've been doing this experiment entirely within the world of Unreal Editor for Fortnite for now. We want to test this and iterate with Fortnite creators in just the metaverse usage case before we make it available to all of our partners using Unreal Engine for all of their projects. And the idea is to iteratively improve it and build it out, because right now, UEFN has relatively few features for programming. It needs a lot more, and everything we add makes the world a much better place for Fortnite creators. And we're adding major new APIs every few months throughout the course of this year.
And I will say this, because people, like, if you're watching this, chances are you're not, no shade if you are, but chances are you're not super into Fortnite, okay? My channels and content don't tend to focus a lot on it, but I I gotta give them their flowers here with a couple of things where, like, just the other day, a few weeks ago, we did a collaboration with Epic Games on our TikTok page where we actually covered a few Star Wars games that were added to Fortnite. One that stood out to me was called Droid Tycoon, okay? This is a game within Fortnite, okay? Where straight up, it is an entire, like, tycoon game built in Fortnite. You can use whatever skin you want to use. But it's free. You can just load in, you put in the island code or whatever it's called to get access to the game, and then you just play it. And bro, it's got like dozens of hours of content, and it's a full-on tycoon game where you can collect droids, level them up, use them to build and collect resources for other droids. Like, it is something you could easily charge $20 for on Steam, and I think it would sell very, very well. And it's just a free update. Other things, for example, Galactic Siege. This is like their version of Battlefront, basically, that they just casually added to the game, again, for free. This is kind of the ultimate vision of what they have, is that they want people to be able to go through Fortnite, and either for free or paying, because I'm sure they'll eventually expand it where you can, like, pay. Maybe it's $50 to get Witcher 4 or 5 through Fortnite, like, as a platform. You have to pay for it, but it's discounted because they keep more of the money or something like that. And like, this is ultimately where they see it. They want Fortnite to be basically the giga platform of interactivity. And the reason they like that too, and this is, you just got to be like, think about it from the perspective of like a 15-year-old kid or a 12-year-old kid today. This is the type of thing they've grown up on. So they've grown up on, you boot into Fortnite and all of your games are there. All of the modes are there. All of your friends are there. You bought a skin over Christmas with some V-Bucks you got from grandma. Now you can bring that skin into any of these game modes that you're playing. You can use it. It supports it. Like, that's what the next generation of gamers has been raised on. And that's what they've come to expect. And so to a certain extent, I understand the vision of what Tim is putting forward here. Like, this idea that you will have access to countless games, different types of games, not just little bitty game modes within Fortnite, but like actual full games within the ecosystem. Okay. It's very different for us and like the older, as I said, I'm 28 years old. I'm like the older gamers. It's very different for us, even at 28 years old, for us to think about it in this context, because we were before the era of Fortnite and Roblox, but this is like what millions upon millions upon millions of gamers have been raised on. And the data supports this too. This isn't just vibes. Something crazy. I think among Gen Z, 62% of those polled in a recent survey like a few weeks ago, or maybe it was a month or two ago, said that they do not buy games at full price, full stop. And a further, like additional 20% said they just don't buy new games. Maybe they buy one every year, maybe. Because most of their time is spent playing free-to-play games like Warzone or Fortnite or something like that. This is where a lot of gamers are. Now, I do think a lot of gamers will mature out of that and will grow out of that and will get the world exposed to them of like the world of narrative exclusive games on like a PlayStation platform, or even like really high fidelity games from third-party devs on PC. They've just never experienced something like Baldur's Gate 3, so they don't know what they're missing. And I think they will get introduced to that. But I also do think there's going to be a lot of devs who are tapped by Epic to make something like that within the Fortnite universe, where those players already are. So the reason I just want to break this down is because for us, and if you're a Steam player, if you're a PlayStation player, and you don't mess with Fortnite and these like big platform games like a Roblox or Fortnite, you may not understand just how big this is. But there are millions upon millions upon millions upon millions of players for whom this is the way that they play games. Okay, like they're not even really Steam gamers or PlayStation gamers. They are Fortnite gamers, or they are Roblox gamers. My little sister, bless her heart, is one of those like Roblox gamers. That's all she knows. She, like, you ask her about Steam, she's like, what? But she knows about Roblox. She plays a lot of Roblox. You know, all the different game modes. She's super into like a farm. There's like a Farmville spin-off knockoff game in Roblox that's like bigger than Call of Duty is in terms of raw player count. It's outrageous. It's insane. But that's how big these platforms are. So don't sleep on them. Don't sleep on them just because they're foreign to you. Don't underestimate the power of these games. They're huge. But continuing.
Whereas Unreal Engine licensees who are building standalone games,
that would be like CDPR and those guys who are licensing it for what we would consider to be normal games,
already have access to the full engine through C++. They have massive expectations of an API. And so we can't release this to them until we've built up all of the essential features that they'll need for building their gameplay in the future. And so, we have these two different tendrils of progress. There's Unreal Engine 5 for game developers, and there's Unreal Engine 5 targeting the Fortnite community. And there's different bits of development that are only in one area of it that aren't applied to both. Like, not all of the Unreal Engine 5 features are actually available in Fortnite, because some of them we haven't figured out or haven't gotten to the point where we can deploy them to all 7 platforms in a platform-independent way.
To be clear, also, just being real, we see all of these studios talking about how they're moving to Unreal, CDPR moving to Unreal. There's even talk, I don't know if it's been confirmed yet actually, but the Warhorse Lord of the Rings game, I've heard people claim that will be an Unreal Engine 5 or Unreal Engine 6 game. All they've said is Unreal. I don't know if that's true though, so don't quote me on that. I've seen people claim it, but I have not seen clear evidence or a statement from them saying that is what they're doing. The next Kingdom Come game is going to use the CryEngine stuff that they built out, but I've heard claims that the Lord of the Rings game will be Unreal Engine. Now, a lot of us see that and we're like, why? Your tech is great. The Red Engine was great. The CryEngine, the stuff they're using for KCD is great. Why are they all moving over? And a lot of it comes down to cost, but a lot of it also is other things that you might not think of. Easy scalability, being able to bring your game in an engine that is built to scale across every platform at all times. And that's basically on Epic to manage the scalability. That's valuable, because if you can release your game on the PlayStation 5 and the PlayStation 6 and potentially high-end mobile devices too, and it just works, that's a big deal. That's a big deal. That's a lot of extra revenue. Even if each individual platform is just a little bit, it adds up. Like, and if you think, no, modern cell phones can't run that stuff, dude, they launched like AC Mirage and Resident Evil 8 Village. They launched those on iPhone. You can buy them right now on the App Store. Those are not light games. Those are pretty demanding games graphically and in terms of scale. And they run on a cell phone. Okay, so don't underestimate the power of scalability if you have some really amazing programmers. But the other piece I think that is often overlooked in these conversations is talent. Like, there is a cost that comes with hiring somebody and then having to train them for a year on how to use your tools. I mean, just think of it from the time you spent either in school or whenever you've sat down to try to do something. Maybe you know how to edit videos with CapCut or something, but then somebody says, okay, well, I'm going to hire you, but you have to use the Adobe suite. You need to learn how to use After Effects and Premiere Pro. You're going to be like, okay. And you can learn it. You'll figure it out eventually, but that's going to be a few months or even a half year where you're not operating anywhere near as efficiently as you could have. And that's just burning money and time and resources for the studio that hired you. And so for somebody to be able to go and hire somebody from CDPR and know that the moment they are hired, they can show up to the office, get their login credentials and get to work, that's valuable. There's no more like language barrier where it's like, wait, what tool are we using for this? I need to import. At my last job, we would take the animation from the recording stage, and then we'd bring it over here, and we use this program to fix it up. Then we'd import that data into this. Like, no, we use a different process. We use this tool, and then this tool, then this tool. You don't have to deal with any of that because everybody's on the same page instantaneously. And so it makes hiring talent much more streamlined. And again, don't underestimate the power of being able to pass off all of the technical headaches back, or a lot of them, back to Epic Games. Because like, I remember listening to a talk with one of the head honchos over at CDPR, and they were saying how the inherent, how did he phrase it? He said something like the inherent insanity or something of game development is that you have a software company in the form of like building an engine, maintaining it, adding features, all that. And then at the same time, you also have a game studio. You have artists over here and engineers over here, and they operate differently. They have different timelines. They have different needs and resource requirements and stuff like that. And you're trying to do both at the same time. And it's just difficult to have both of those teams be world class. And it's very, very rare to be able to balance that all at the same time without either massive headaches, insane costs, or occasional blunders. We saw that with Cyberpunk 2077 pretty clearly. And then you see it with like Naughty Dog. They have world class talent in the engineering side with their proprietary engine and also with the game dev stuff, but it's extremely expensive. Same with Rockstar. They have their own proprietary tech, but it is ridiculously expensive to keep it cutting edge and industry leading. And for a lot of these teams, being able to go, oh, we can just have Epic run all of that stuff for us, and we'll work with them. We still have engineers that are tweaking stuff and building stuff with them, but we're able to rely a lot on their expertise, and they can just specialize in that. That's really, really valuable too. So these, like all of these studios moving over to Unreal, it's not a mistake, and it's because they provide a very valuable service, even if the games tend to be choppy.
And so the place where all of these different threads of development come together is Unreal Engine 6.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a few years away. We don't have an exact time frame, but we could be seeing preview versions of it perhaps 2 to 3 years from now. And
so 2 to 3 years from now, this was April of 2025. When does the next generation start? It's expected 2028. And I would guess, and the guesses have been that they might start previewing hardware next year. Possibly they could also wait a year and start previewing in 2028. A lot of it just depends on like manufacturing timelines, budgets, all that stuff. But even if they do expedite and launch like in 2027, I don't think I think it's going to be sold out freaking everywhere because it's going to be so expensive to manufacture. I don't think they'll be doing 50 million unit runs at launch. I think they'll have very limited selection and inventory, and then it'll rev up as time goes by and it gets cheaper. So I think effectively like the next gen really will start 2028 regardless. And it'll probably only really pick up steam in 2029. Right when we should be seeing Unreal Engine 6 being pushed really, really forcefully. So, I don't think it's a mistake that the timeline is sitting right there.
Making continuous progress towards it.
So that's really nice. So there's this ultimate version of a language that you're constantly working on and thinking through. Then there's the shipped version of the language that's used by a large number of people, but still in the constrained environment of the Unreal editor for Fortnite. So for the Fortnite game. And then there awaits the more general Unreal editor, Unreal Engine for the lessons learned in the Fortnite context to be integrated in the more general context of creating simulated worlds for all kinds of games, including Fortnite. It's a really nice setup because you're both. It's a testing ground of the language in Fortnite, and you're keeping an eye on what the ultimate thing will look like. Also necessary to deliver all the features that we mentioned. Brilliant.
You know, the aim
And this is what's kind of funny about Unreal Engine is that like a lot of I've heard people in comments, read people in comments say like, why doesn't another studio or company come in and try to do this? Why doesn't another company build their own Unreal Engine? It's like, first of all, you can't just do that. It's ridiculously expensive. But the very, very unique thing about Unreal Engine is that they have a massive, massive horde of guinea pigs in the form of Fortnite players that they can build stuff, test stuff, iterate on. And let's be honest, like Fortnite players, they tend to be a little bit more, they're younger. They tend to be more forgiving with stuff. Like if you launch a feature that isn't super well optimized in Fortnite, and then like Timmy, who's 12 years old, loses 5 frames per second on performance, like he's not going to be like he's not going to be uninstalling, never playing again. Whereas if you were to do that with a lot of more traditional mainstream AAA games, you got to be really on your game at all times. So they have this testing ground and group of test subjects in the form of Fortnite that a lot of people would kill for, and with that comes a built-in revenue stream that funds the development of Unreal Engine further and further and further and further, which makes it very, very valuable. So I think it's just they're in a very unique situation, which is why they can do the things that they do. And no other company, I think, could really justify it other than like a behemoth like Microsoft. But do we really want Microsoft in charge of like a game engine? Probably not. Probably not. I mean, they can't get Windows running properly. And apparently now they're saying like 30% of all of their code is written by AI agents, which is, it explains why Windows is running worse and worse, honestly. It comes together. It makes sense.
for UE6 is to bring
to deliver all the features that
Listen
we
to
mentioned.
this.
Brilliant.
the aim for UE6 is to bring the best of both worlds together. Much easier gameplay programming for the Fortnite community and for licensees. More scalability to large-scale simulations of all sorts. Greater ease of use, meaning it will be easier to hire programmers who are familiar with and experienced with the thing. But also ensure that every game developer has the full deployment capabilities so that it can build a game once and then ship it anywhere. Like the ultimate version of this enables a game developer to build a game of any sort, either or simultaneously both ship it into Fortnite as a Fortnite island that players can go into, bring their Fortnite items and cosmetics and interoperate properly, or ship as a standalone game, or both. And if they ship as a standalone game, they shouldn't be missing out on the open economy either, because in this time frame we'll have opened up the Fortnite item economy to third-party developers of all sort. Hopefully through a standards body, but there might be multiple phases of it, so that if you choose to ship a standalone game, you can still choose to have Fortnite items work in your game, and have your game items work in Fortnite, and have your item economy integrated with the overall metaverse economy, and solve the really core problem of the game industry that Matthew Ball has been documenting over the past few years.
He's an author, has written about metaverse stuff. That's what they're referring to. And then they cycle into discussions for like indie devs and Apple and stuff, but they kind of blow past that last little bit. But again, like their goal, and I will give him credit, he uses the word choice. Okay, so he says that developers will have the choice to release as a Fortnite island or as a standalone game or both. And then you can choose to have like your Fortnite items cross-compatible. So you buy a skin in Fortnite, you could have that work in your game outside of Fortnite, or you could have your items that you sell within your game work also within Fortnite, and it just carries over. That's kind of like the ultimate vision. And the reason that's valuable, and again, it's something that might be foreign to you, it's foreign to me for sure, but there are people, especially among the younger generation of gamers, for whom this is like a deal breaker. When they buy a skin in Fortnite, they're willing to buy it for $20 or $30 for the skin, but it's because they know they will be able to bring that over to any one of the other experiences they enjoy. If they want to use that cosmetic in Fortnite, the Battle Royale game, they can do that. If they want to bring it over to Droid Tycoon, they can do that. If they want to bring it over to the farm game, they can do that. If they want to bring it over to the Lego Fortnite, whatever, they can do that. Like for us, that's foreign. For them, that's a deal breaker, okay? And that will constitute their willingness to spend money on those extra cosmetics, which is where most of the money in the industry is made. It's not made in standalone purchases. It's made in long-term recurrent revenue through microtransactions. So realistically, let's break this down realistically. Do I think we see The Witcher 4 as a Fortnite island? No, I do not. I think when the developers are choosing, they are choosing, in that case, not to do it as a Fortnite island. I don't think that works. I don't think it would work to have Ciri in a fish costume. I just don't think that works. And I don't think that they'll do cross purchasing. I don't think they'll do that. So I think games where it really is not appropriate, they will not do that. But I do think that you'll start to see a lot of developers experimenting with it. I think what they're discussing here and targeting are those devs who are making those spin-off modes, like a Droid Tycoon, like a farm sim, like the Only Up clones and stuff like that, where they are building these as experiences within Fortnite, and then they can sell stuff back to players that carries over across the rest of the ecosystem. I think that's the ultimate vision. So I can understand why some people are seeing all of this and it's immediately doom and gloom, because it does sound dystopian. It does. But I think as long as the choice is there, I'm gonna maintain an open mind, because I think right now a lot of these tools already exist for these devs and for these teams, but you don't tend to see like a lot of it. But I think what we will see, as long as the choice is available, is that you will see those cross-compatible experiences that crop up. They're probably not going to be games that appeal to you, to be perfectly honest, but they will appeal to the younger generation. But I do think what we'll see is, as long as the choice remains, companies like CDPR or Warhorse or any of these other big studios that start to experiment with Unreal Engine, they will probably keep doing things in a more traditional way because it just doesn't really make sense. You might see occasional experiments where maybe they do have an item shop or a cosmetic shop that they add to the game post-launch. And it is something like, hey, for this game, I don't know, Tomb Raider, you can buy this skin for Lara Croft. And it happens to also copy over and work within Fortnite. It has a parried version of it or something. I think you probably see stuff like that start to creep up, and they'll do it little by little, maybe one skin here, one cosmetic here and there, but it'll slowly ramp up and become more and more common as time goes by. So I just personally am not a believer that this is going to instantaneously be like, everything everywhere all at once, that like Witcher 4 is going to be in Fortnite. I don't personally think that's going to happen. 10 years after the fact, maybe in the 2030s, you do start to see stuff like that. But I think to start, these studios, especially like CDPR, do you think that they're delusional enough to think that Witcher 4 as a Fortnite island is not a major red flag for their core gaming community? Like, no, I think they know that doesn't work, and they won't fall for that. So but who knows? I've been surprised before. Who knows? So anyway, I just wanted to do this little deep dive thing on Unreal Engine 6 and what's coming. I think it's much less about fidelity and cranking features, and now it is much more about trying to find ways to level the playing field for everybody. Like Unreal Engine 6, I think, is going to be about stability. They've already said that one of the goals of Unreal Engine 6 is to increase multi-threading support, to fix things like hitching, which has been a big problem with Unreal Engine. Shader compilation issues, they want to address that and fix that. I understand the memes around Unreal Engine. I make jokes about it all the time, but you better believe the fact that now whenever anybody says Unreal Engine, people kind of roll their eyes and people call it UE slop and stuff. The fact that that's a meme mortifies Epic Games. They do not want that to be what it is, because if people are responding that way, that might lead to devs not using it because they're worried about the blowback and feedback from it. But what can they do about it? All they can do is like prove and demonstrate with their words and actions specifically that they can fix it and they can improve it. And that, I think, is what they are working on right now. I mean, the chief priority for Unreal right now, I think, is to make it more efficient, to avoid those hitchings and frame drops and stuff, especially in open world games, and get ahead of it. And it has gotten, to their credit, it has gotten a lot better. Even games like Lego Batman, Legacy of the Dark Knight, I've been playing that. Bro, it's so much better than I was expecting and braced for it. I was ready for it to be a technical disaster. But dude, I was playing it on the Steam Deck last night and it ran solid, like real solid. It's remarkable, and it looks really good while running locked solid. Like it's really impressed me. And so it's better than it was 2 years ago for sure, but they still have a little ways to go. But you better believe they're working on it. Anyway, let me know what you think of Unreal Engine 6 and everything in the comments. I will probably be on stream tomorrow. I believe they're just doing like infrastructure work in my neighborhood, and so they just keep disconnecting the cables and everything. It is what it is. One day I'll live somewhere with stable internet. First world problems, right? Oh no, I have to upload this video on a satellite through space. Yeah, it's a pretty remarkable time we live in that I can do that. I'm like, oh, I'm having internet drop issues, so I'll just record this and then I'll upload it through my Starlink Mini that I just have to plug in with a battery backup. Like, how crazy is that? That's just something you can do. It's ridiculous, but it's remarkable. Anyway, much love. Thank you for watching. I'll see you soon. Thank you for putting up with all the technical issues and everything. Much love. I'll see you in the next segment. I'm about to record one on Judas because we just got news about Judas and it is so stupid. So buckle up, buckaroo. I'll talk to you there. Subscribe, like, blah, blah, blah. Bye.